What I'm going to tell you is organization design, which is not a fun topic to begin with, I guess. It's been a few years since I joined GO-JEK, and this is actually partly personal story, partly a story about GO-JEK itself, and I guess no matter which industry you are, and no matter which sector you are, and whether you are like a junior, are you leading a team, I hope you can get a few good things, I guess, from my talk. And I joined GO-JEK around 2017. For those who doesn't know GO-JEK, is there anyone who doesn't know GO-JEK, I guess? It's a crazy super app. It just doesn't really make sense, but it works most of the time. But our core business, of course, is ride hailing. Maybe you've used GoCar and GoRide. Maybe you've used GoFood, and we have also like a smaller and less frequent products like GoClean, GoMassage, and everything. Basically, you want to be like one app where you can do everything. I actually came from public sector. I came from Macy's world. I came from post-lab worlds and everything, and it's 2 years ago I decided to switch into this very hyper-capitalistic sector where you just burn money, you get unlimited budget, you get everything, but at the same time you're also being asked a lot. This is the hardest one. I mean, how come they dare to ask this to someone who never managed a team before? How to design and scale a research unit? The problem is GO-JEK is like this. GO-JEK is a pile of many different products at once. When I first joined, I think we have 16. Then we discontinue 1 or 2, rest in peace, GoMart. At any given time, we have 10 to 15 different verticals. All you have to focus on. There's no like, oh, these are the priority products and everything. No, you have to focus on every single product. And we serve more than 40 markets in Indonesia. When if you're building a website, you probably don't really care about how you operate because wherever you are in Indonesia, you can access your website. In GO-JEK, that's not easy because, well, when you operate in a given market, you are physically there. You need to have your ops team. You need to have your marketing team. You have to be local, be present at the local level. And we did that across Indonesia. And we have 10 different verticals I mentioned, not just the product, but also the functions. This is the crazy thing, right? How are you going to make a, especially you if you're coming, even if you're in like a mid-sized tech company, if you have 15 different products, how are you going to serve all of them? You have a design team, right? Every product have a design. Every product does exist. It means it has a design. Why not just put a UX researcher, whatever that means, with a design team under each product? You know, this is like the basic formula. Why not just scale horizontally? It seems like it's pretty straightforward, but I will tell you why this is not as easy as it is. Let's just take GoCar trips, for example. You have around, how many seconds do you need to just book a GoCar? Maybe it's 30 seconds. You click GoCar, from, where, expensive, really? Okay, yes, next. You do that, it's 30 seconds, right? And then you wait until the driver comes. The GPS never moves. Where are you? Pak, di mana? Sesuai aplikasi ya, whatever. That's like 5 minutes worth of your time. That's where your anxiety level goes through the roof. Are you coming or not? Should I make another order? Should I make 2 orders just on the safe side? Should I make 5 orders on the same side? Yeah, that happens, right? So up to this point, seems right. I mean, so most of the things happening in our ecosystem is in the product, as in you are using the app. The problem is the next one, the trip. And this is outside of our app. As in, yes, technically it is still on the trip, but whatever happened, if the driver got lost, if you're involved in an accident and everything, it's like offline. We have no control on it. If you really want to do a service design on a ride-hailing trip, let me know. I would love to know how do you do it, because it's just so difficult because there's so many variety on how you can deliver this. And the problem with this is that it also means that the team involved in this 3 distinct phases can be very different. For example, on the booking phase, you have PMs. You work with PMs, with designers, with developers, with other scientists, just to make sure that you get the right car. You work with growth, so you can use the right vouchers. You work with the pricing team, so it's not too expensive for your taste, but still enough to make money for us. There's also dispatch. Then you work with again with PM, design, dev, everything. But now maybe you have fraud team because are you actually a real user or not? Is this a fraudulent drivers or not? And then you work at a trip level where okay, design team doesn't really work on this. It's on the trip. Then there's the ops team, customer ops, driver ops. In most companies, the research division only work with one of them, maybe one or two of them, but not all of them. Unfortunately, in us, it's actually you have to work with all of them. And to make things even more complicated, we are, from the very first day, is a global company with a single market. You know, everyone is Indonesian, you have to go outside. We are the other way around. We are, from the very first time, we are based in Indonesia, in Bangalore, in Singapore, and you have to serve the design, you have to serve this market here. So it's not as easy as, okay, let's just make the designers observe whatever the users are doing. They're not based in here. The designers are not in Jakarta. They're not in Pematang Siantar. They're not in Bali. And it's just, if you really want to scale, it's impossible to do this. Remember, and this other thing, remember that I mentioned about 3 research functions? Usually in most places, it goes like this. Usually, yeah. Not in every company, but usually it goes like this. If you think explain the role of user researcher is hard, try telling the business heads why it's different from market researchers, why it's different from product analysts, why we cannot simply look at our data just to make some conclusion. And the problem is that each of them are kind of right in some sense. You know, they does represent the voice of the users in their own way. For example, when I'm a UX researcher. You are inside the design team. You work with the designers day to day. You test prototypes. You do concept testing. You do design sprints. Usually that's what you do, right? I mean, and then usually on the other island, there's the market research people. Oh, hey, we are market research. Well, we do a lot of segmentations. We do a lot of panel studies. You know, we do a lot of look at market level FGDs. We drive the strategic direction on where the opportunity gap is. That's market research. And me coming from analytics, I actually don't really come from like a human-centered design background. I am from BI actually, business intelligence, which mostly deal with analytics. I cannot tell you how the user feel, but I damn sure know what they do. I know what they say is not what they do. I know exactly why they don't do this. I can predict what they will do next. In every company, it goes like this. You make like this red dots between them. We will collaborate on each project. We will invite data scientists, UX researchers, market research analytics just to huddle up and then just work on a single project. That's what you do. So, and it depends. If everyone's available, great. If only one of them available, okay. If no one's available, all right, we just do it our way. Right? The problem is that the latter is more often than the former. It's often that you guys do your thing. You know, you do your user interviews, everything. I'm okay here, you know. Or yeah, you do your predictive modeling things. I don't really understand that. You do your thing, right? If I really want to be one of them, I would just do a very dumb classification like this. What is the pros and cons of being one of them? Here's what I see. If you're researchers, you get extra whiteboards. You get a lot of facilities to do synthesis and everything. You get to do immersions. You get to go to these markets and then talk to the people. Fascinating. Usually your stakeholder will just tell you, is it representative? You just talk to 10 people. Do you really understand what you're saying? Do you really know what it's impossible. Our business like this. Maybe you're talking to the wrong people. That's usually what people say when you're UX researchers, right? If you're a market research guy, you get fancy charts. You get a very good, nice-looking plots and everything. You can say size of opportunities. We should go there because it is 20% growth on the next 5 years. But at the same time, you have to justify shitty ads. You have to justify very weird-ass campaigns because I think it's good for our brand. You cannot really prove why, but there's data to justify that. You have to do it. If you're analytics like me, I can do cool stuff, but I don't get to travel around. I sit behind my desk. I open my terminal. I just code, and I can query data very quickly for you. But usually, you have to find stuff. You go to the field. I stay in the desk. We try to do something different, and this is what we were doing in GO-JEK. What if we combine all of them under one roof? What if we don't report to product teams? We report directly to the C-level. What if research team is at the equal level as the product team, as the design team, as the marketing team. It just stands alone. There's no specific reason why we think, at first, even when we started this, it's like, okay, let's just try it. Maybe it works. And actually it does. One thing that we really want to have in GO-JEK is a mindset of factfulness. As in, you know what you're talking about. You know whatever you say is based on facts, not opinions, not projections. It's very hard to do. If you're doing immersion, it's hard enough to relate to your participants, to your subjects. Now you have to claim something, and it must be based on facts. It is a little less leap of faith. It's more of a, no, I know exactly this is what's happening. It's very hard to do, because especially in startups, even at like GO-JEK, people just want to make shortcuts. People just want to just go trailblazing and just go to a specific goal they already had in mind. They don't really want to know other second opinions or dissenting opinions even. They just want to go. So the problem is that how to actually deliver a mindset of factfulness in the whole organization. And really, we just want to have extra whiteboards, I guess, and sitting spaces. It's easier when you justify that when you have a bigger team. And it's nice for everyone to travel around and get immersed. And everyone gets to have a shot at making fancy charts once in a while. Let me tell you, this is one of the projects that we do. This is called the Train Station Deep Dive. We did this back in December 2017, so this is my second month in GO-JEK. The question is very simple. We usually want to know how the users use our product. But to GO-JEK spirit, it doesn't want to stop there. It wants to know expression for reality. You want to quantify pain points. You want to reveal mobility patterns. You want to know how to penetrate the market. You want to know how to improve conversion. You want to know, is there any specific feature you can build specific for train station users? And how do you understand 80 stations, by the way? Because it's easy when as a research team, it's up to you how do you want to structure this, right? You can just say, we do immersion on 2 stations and call it a day. You can do that. Nothing wrong with that. But what if your ambition is a bit higher? How do you understand all 80 stations? Because if you want to make a business decision, you kind of need to map it all, right? What if you as researchers get the ability to know the station's context through data? What if they can actually cluster different kind of stations so you actually go to the stations where you need to ask? What if the market research get an in-house capability to do the precise surgical precision surveys so you just don't get non-commuters? And what if analytics guy gets to get out there and then go to stations actually? It's what we do. This is what we did actually. We get commuter line data, we do market sizing and everything. Just to make it more clear, this is the portion of it, like market researchers get the market sizing, get the insight from the marketing team, and then you try to redefine stations, you do field interviews, you also do some regression, and then you do some geospatial analysis, you feed that through BI data, you get a survey and everything. And this is what we do. It's the beauty of decentralization is that you can do this easily. You don't need to be dependent on anyone from data science team to have like a spare time to do this. You just do it on your own. Sometimes it's pretty easy. You can actually classify stations. Some stations are, you can call it like the in-morning stations, morning rush hour. You can call the evening rush hour. You know exactly where Jakarta starts and where the suburbs actually ends. It's very interesting, actually. Now you know that Jakarta border is not exactly at the border of Jakarta if you define it by commuters and city. And the end result is that you can say something like this: X%, Y%, 0%, top 5 station. You can define every single thing in like this 3 sentences, and it gets much higher buy-in from the stakeholders. Because you just don't take one piece of it, you actually combine everything. Which is, yeah, okay, isn't that what most people do? But the biggest value is that you can do this each and every time if needed. It's not like by chance, it's by design. You actually can do this if needed. And you can do it independently. You don't have to rely on any other team to do this. So faster iteration, more byproducts. We'll talk about that more in a second. And then comprehensive output. You get this one, I think, around 14 days turnout. 14 days, you get to map 80 stations, get a strategic plan to actually win the stations. You can make a byproduct. The byproduct is quite actually a lot. You can get the trend commuter decision tree, like you try to do some systems analysis on it. You can have a more accurate market sizing. And the data lives on the BI warehouse forever. So whoever goes after you can also reuse your data. It's pretty beautiful. And it's not used just by product team. It's used by product, growth, branding, marketing, corporate strategy even, operations. These are the non-typical research users actually. They usually do their own thing. But this way, they also benefit from whatever we discovered. Repeat that for every product. This is GoPay, for example, on micro merchants. It's slightly more pipeline, more sequential instead of like a whole sprint. But the thing is the same. None of these needed the part of the company to do. And you do that for every user in the city, for example. The bottom image is actually a satellite image of nighttime. You know where to go, where market to penetrate. You don't look at the list of the cities. You look at areas where are the brightest cities, because that means it has correlation with economic growth, and that's where you want to go. But the cost is pretty high. It costs you a lot, actually. Not everything like him, but it costs you a lot, because it also means that you have a lot of dead ends. It's very easy to get lost. It's very easy to maybe the terminology is more like converge or diverge, but actually you can get lost either way. You can get lost in converging and diverging actually in this case, because it's just so broad, and you know there's something just one more step, two more steps ahead, and you know you have the power to do that. It's just you have to refrain from doing that because you have your limits, you have your time limits. So the cost of this is that it requires a very good head, a very good person to lead the whole department, and it just, frankly, it's a very big task. But you can also shortcut it by a good organizational design. You can design a whole team about it, and this is what we do. We iterate on how we structure our team. We're not afraid to change our team, to change the leveling and everything, and this is 80% of the job. If this is done, then you can just scale up. And because we want to scale up, this is the main thing that we do. We try to, okay, should we split it into market and products? Should we split it by product pods and everything? But this is the bulk of the work, just to make sure everyone is happy and growing and leveling up at the same time. The second problem is that it's also easy to get lost in translation. I think I heard something along the line of, you need to speak different language and everything. It's true. For example, segments is interpreted differently between all of them. Segment for me can be a need state segment. Segment for that team can be like a specific group of people. It's being used differently, hence it's being phrased differently. It takes a while until you actually have the common language thing, even after you centralize your team. Actually, it's easier when you decentralize things because you have yeah, we need to work on common vocabulary and everything, but we're inside a team, there's no excuse. You just have to operate as a single unit. And the third one is that it's not immune to typical distractions. Whatever sins and distraction that the previous speakers told you about is true. It's always there. It won't go away even though you're like one big single cohesive unit. It's typical distractions, you know. People being impatient, too many products, people doing ad channel, ad general. People just Zoom calls, it's choppy, slow Wi-Fi, post-it notes falling apart. Those are like, this is things that will always happen anyway, regardless on how you structure your team. The talent pools definitely, because people have to kind of cross path every once in a while. You have to acquire new skills pretty rapidly, and maybe that's not something what you want to do. And even if you do, it's something you're probably not really good at. So it definitely is quite a challenge to get the right balance on the team. GO-JEK might be big in Indonesia, but we're also still a very young company. I actually talked to the fellow speakers already. You know, for example, Facebook, our users is a rounding error in Facebook users sense. We're still very small. We're still very young. It's for example, when we talk about how do you actually do research on 2 billion users? You do experimentations, right? we just started. We're not quite there yet. We have to do a steady shift towards experimentation, for example. It can alleviate some painful points on doing usability testing on 40 cities, for example. You try to streamline the whole process a bit. We also expand to more countries. We have to grow globally, but you have to double down on our commitment to go local. We have to understand our local users. We have to optimize at every single market segments. And I guess the problem is that it's quite hard to find any friends on this, because there's not many people who go down this path before. It's quite rare, actually. There's only a few companies in Indonesia at this size, and it's hard to find relatable experiences on this. So I guess next will be us contributing more to the communities. We will see, I guess, and we'll adapt. So if you're 1 year, 2 years, 3 years behind us, trust us, we're not that far. We're not that far ahead, actually. We're all still learning, and that's it. Thank you.
Buka aja Bukalapak.